I'm Captain Xavier, and for those of you that are already well familiar with TYR, you will have noticed in the opening sequence that he's gotten a bit of a facelift. And, I've been wanting to make a number of upgrades since I first got TYR built, and then, looked at the pictures and looked at the video, and there were things that I just wasn't happy with, and there were functional things that I wasn't pleased with. At one point, I tried putting in a drill trigger to create a variable rate of fire. The further you pulled the trigger, the faster it would shoot. And that worked, but it didn't work as well as I wanted. I had issues with the switches failing and all sorts of other issues. And so I decided to do a massive overhaul. And the barrel and the carry handle are courtesy of Armory in Germany, the very same fellow who sent me that white strife kit and a bunch of other really amazing stuff. He had developed a minigun barrel for the Vulcan. That was just a drop-in kit. You take the old barrel out, you put the new barrel in, you wire up the motor, and you're done. And it was absolutely gorgeous, and so I reached out to him and said, hey, is there any way I can get my hands on that? And after some discussion and some negotiation, he finally did provide me with the STL so I could print it. And then he was awesome enough to alter them because they were all in metric, and I can't get 20mm pipe easily in the US. So he quite wonderfully resized all of the holes so that it would fit half-inch pipe, which is 21.5mm instead of the 20mm that it was originally designed for. The guide barrel on the inside was also originally designed for a Vulcan barrel, which is smaller than the Air Warrior's Punisher barrel, so he had to resize that. And then, of course, the attachment point had to be completely custom designed by him to fit on a Air Warrior's Punisher instead of a Vulcan. And that was, I got all the measurements to him, I got it sent to him, and he sent it back absolutely perfectly. I then later asked him if he could help me, if I designed a carry handle, if he could create a 3D model for it so that I could 3D print it. And he came back with this absolutely gorgeous carry handle, way fancier and a better design than I had ever imagined, and it fits the button for the solenoid absolutely perfectly. And then the new joystick handle back here is the very joystick that I grew up playing X-Wing and TIE Fighter on back in Windows 3.11, and the reason I love Space Sims so much. And so I felt that it was very fitting to have it as the primary handle now instead of the original one, which makes for a much more proper ergonomic feel and look, and just everything about it is so much better now. Absolutely love how it came together. Very sturdy, it's much stronger. The old carry handle was flimsy, and I didn't like the way the old handle, or the main handle was. It required you to hold it at an awkward angle that you see in the pictures. And obviously the barrel just is so much better now. If I turn everything down, I can actually rotate the barrels independently without having the flywheels or the pusher motor going. It spins fast, it sounds mean, it looks amazing. If you remember my old barrel, it was just the stock barrel with ABS pipe coupler added onto the end, and it was simply way too short and cartoonish looking, quite frankly. And so that got replaced by Armory's barrel. He does now have an even fancier, very spacey looking one that's was a little too much for the build. I wanted the classic minigun build for this since it would match everything else better, I felt. I absolutely love that new design. It's just wicked looking, but definitely not quite what I wanted for this build. This is absolutely magnificent and perfect. I recently took this to Afterworlds as my triumphant return after missing 4 games in a row. I missed all of 2017 and the first game in 2018. I had been there back in 2016, well before this was even built. And but I did have a lot of modified blasters with me. I had IR with me and some other modded blasters, and that was before my channel had gotten big. I only started it in 2016, so I only had probably less than 2,000 or 3,000 subs when I went to Afterworlds. Probably less than that the first time. Maybe I was up to that by the second one, and a couple of them were now watching my channel. Over the course of the last year and a half, of course, most of them were now watching my channel, and they'd have new people show up who would link to my channel going, have you seen this minigun? It's amazing! And they're like, yeah, we know the guy who built it. He comes to Afterworld sometimes. And so when they discovered that I was coming this time, there was a lot of anticipation and potential fear. And the fear was well-founded because I took the field with TYR as an NPC, as a mindless killing machine, and I mowed down many of them. Not as many as I probably could have if I had been allowed to just go all out, but that would have been mean. So I had it at about half its rate of fire, and my job was not to kill everybody, but to make it very clear that I could. And I definitely did that. I will have footage from that. I didn't get a whole lot of footage. I got a little bit of action footage, and hopefully some of the other people that were there got some footage and can get it to me. I got lots of pictures that were sent to me, and I got a little bit of footage of the site, and then I got a little bit of footage of one of the fights that we had. So you'll get to see that in action, and then loads of pictures of the people there and personal accounts of their stuff. That'll all be in the video, probably coming out next week. I don't have time to get it done now because I'm still getting ready for West vs. Zombies, and everyone there is, still unpacking and all of that, so I haven't gotten any of their footage yet. So hopefully early next week, I will be able to get the video out on that. It'll be a bonus episode of Storytime with Captain Xavier. I'll tell the story of the character I played and all of that. But yeah, that is the updates that have been made to the gun. One of the things that I ran into at Afterworlds is failure after failure after failure, mechanically. I had so many mechanical failures, and I don't know if they realized how often it was happening, and that's why I often quit fighting a lot sooner than I actually needed to. I could have continued to fight and kill more of them, but something broke. The first one was the hose came unhooked from the blaster. This link came undone, so I need to figure out how to strengthen that. At the event, I just duct taped it so it wouldn't fall apart. Later, the hose came undone from the backpack, and it took me a while to figure out what was going on there, because it hadn't fallen off, so I wasn't just spilling rounds, but it had slid out, and so it wasn't feeding well at all. It would feed a couple of rounds and then fail, and then a couple of rounds and then nothing. I had a solder link break on the pusher motor. I had a solder link break on the on switch for the flywheels. I had a number of jams where once the batteries started getting a little bit low, the flywheels no longer had enough power to fire if there was a round jammed between them. And so the pusher motor would push one last ball into the flywheels after they stopped, or I'd forget to turn the flywheels on and the pusher would still be going. And it would push a round in, and then I'd turn the flywheels on, and then they would just jam. And I didn't actually have any way to reach into the flywheels and unjam it without taking apart the blaster. So I addressed a lot of those issues. I redid all the solders. I actually dremeled out a jam door hole, so the door opened up, but I couldn't actually reach into the flywheels. Now I can, so that's been fixed. I think all of the major flaws that I ran into there are now fixed one way or another. Hopefully, I won't have nearly as many failures at West vs. Zombies, because at West vs. Zombies, I don't think I will have quite as much opportunity to step out of game and repair things. I also learned a lot of things that I need to put into my repair kit that I will be taking with me to West vs. Zombies. There were the solder failures. If someone there on site hadn't had a soldering iron, I would have been sunk. There's no way I would have been able to fix it without that. Luckily, somebody did. The batteries didn't last nearly as long as I was expecting. I ended up running the gun a lot more than I had anticipated on day 1 and 2, and so the batteries ended up going dead. Luckily, somebody had a LiPo charger on site that could be run off of a car battery, and so I was able to get my batteries charged back up, and so that kept me going. I also had, this is the one that I have no excuse for this, I didn't bring any duct tape. Luckily, someone on site had duct tape, and so one way or the other, I was always able to get TYR back up and running. The final time that it didn't work when I really wanted it to was because I had forgot to turn it on, and that's not TYR's fault, that's my fault. But the rocket launcher, to this day, since the first time I prototyped and tested the prototype of the firing mechanism that I have in the launcher, it has never once failed. Which I know I'm probably jinxing it by saying in that, but you push the button, the tank fills up, you switch the switch over, you push the button, it launches. It has never failed, and it did not fail once all weekend. I blew up a lot of people. Those are the cosmetic upgrades. Functional upgrades, I completely redid the wiring. 100% of the wire. I did not leave one original wire in it. Replaced everything. I replaced the PWM that previously controlled the pusher motor with a more powerful one. I replaced the switches that were in there, the drill trigger switch and all of the original switches, with MOSFETs. So it is now fully MOSFET. There's one MOSFET that controls the pusher, or the launcher, and another MOSFET that controls the flywheel and the pusher motor. And it works really, really well, actually, because of the way the PWM and the MOSFETs are set up. There is a slight delay before the pusher motor kicks in, where the flywheels kick in before the pusher motor kicks in. There's just a slight delay, which is perfect, because it means the flywheels have sped up, usually. Once the batteries start getting a little low, not so much. But on a full battery, magnificent. Redid a lot of the connections, so even more things are modular and can come out. The rocket launcher whole setup can be disconnected and pulls out nicely. The PWMs are set up on that way. And the other function that is not quite fully wired, but will be soon, is we've got this button to fire the launcher, this button to fire the gun. What does this red button on top do? And many of you have probably guessed it. There is now a jack at the base of this that I will be able to jack in my shoulder cannon, and I'll be able to fire the shoulder cannon from the minigun, just like I can from IR. So I have my Scorpion shoulder cannon, so I will have a minigun on my shoulder, as well as an enormous minigun. And it will be absurd and magnificent, and I look forward to it, but I haven't gotten that quite done yet. One thing I also discovered it absolutely needs is a sling mount. This thing is now kind of heavy. This barrel will probably double the weight of the whole blaster. So I definitely need to figure out where I'm going to put a sling mount. I have also made a few minor modifications to the backpack, but they are not particularly interesting. There's the shotgun holster that I got from GearBest is on the one side to hold melee weapons or backup primary or whatever. And then I have 3 of the double mag holders that Foam Blast has on Thingiverse that can now hold magazines for whichever rifleman is supporting me. Because the only ways to really take out TYR effectively are shields, which I've countered with rockets, and long range, caliburns, things like that. Because TYR does not have, has about a 70-foot range at best. So people who are hitting, 80, 90, 100 feet could definitely, can be a definite problem. So I have magazines for whichever rifleman I've got covering me, which is fantastic. So there you have it. I also did get myself a new Juggernaut helmet. I picked up this tactical Mandalorian looking thing. Absolutely love it. That's what I ran at Afterworlds. Let me know what you guys think of the upgrades. Thank you, Armory. This could never have gotten to this point without you. As of course, also I owe the blaster concept at all to Out of Darts. He designed the proton pack that I based it off of. It was actually Walcom who gave me the idea of mounting an XBZ in here the way that I did. I knew I wanted a launcher, but I just wasn't sure how to do it. And he's like, well, an XBZ would fit right here, right in line. And it's like, mother of God, it would. And it does. It fits beautifully inside. I was going to do it a lot more complicated. And his suggestion of just mounting it there worked out perfectly. And then I was able to use a solenoid to fire it and a car compressor to power it. And magnificent. So my thanks to all the people that helped this get to where it is today. I'm looking forward to taking it to West vs. Zombies. I don't know what I'm going to be doing with it. I know I'm going to be playing an NPC, but they really haven't explained to me what my role is going to be, which means I get to make it up as I go, probably, which is always fun. So there you have it. Let me know what you guys think of TYR's facelift, what you'd like to see done to him in the future, what ideas you guys have for things that I could add to it, or things that you think would be excellent. So, yeah, there you have it. Thank you for watching. Garden Weasel, get yourself one.